Hi, I'm Marcia Lehman and I'm a Knox County Master Gardener. Today we're pruning an Oakleaf Hydrangea. That's Hydrangea Quercifolia. It is a native, multi-stemmed, somewhat mounding shrub, and it can get quite large. So make sure you put it in a spot where it's got room to grow. This is one that doesn't really need a lot of pruning. And so this time of year, late winter, if you have not deadheaded it, this one did get deadheaded last fall, but if you hadn't taken off the spent blossoms by now, now's the time you would do that. And you would just do that first and come around and clip off all those spent blossoms, which by now would be brown. You have the option to take them off in the fall, and that's what happened to this one last year. Then, what we do is come down and look for suckers at the bottom. And if we come down here on the bottom, there are not really any suckers growing out of this. Oh, I don't have any to take off. It is multi-stem, so these are stems we want to keep. Then, if it's getting thick, we might do a little pruning for thinning and airflow, but the first thing we want to do is look for the 4 Ds. Dead, diseased, damaged, and dysfunctional. With dysfunctional being those things that are going to stick out and grab you when you walk by or try to mow nearby if you have yours near lawn. So when I look at this shrub, it's a few years old, and on the back side here we have some little things that want to rub and cross. So I'm just going to take it off now because it's kind of small. But the one that caught my attention as I was preparing to do this is this stem. If we can zoom in on this, we've got rubbing things going on here, and when I follow this all the way back, it comes off this major stem that starts at the front, but then it wraps all around, and that's probably a little bigger than I can get with my hand pruners. So I'm going to get my loppers in here and take that off. And that's a pretty major cut for this shrub. But the way that it was growing and coming back around and rubbing with other branches, it needed to go. So that's one cut that we've made. And then when I look at it, this one comes off of this stem and curls back around through the center, which I normally would object to. But for its age and stage, I think we're going to keep that because it's not particularly crowded. Then, as I'm going through, I just touched that with my fingers and it broke, so that's dead. That doesn't count in the pruning budget. And as I come around, if it bends when you touch it with your fingers, it's still alive. And if it snap, crackle, pops, then it's dead. So there's not a lot of dead on here that I see. And sometimes all we really need to do is to get things to untangle, and then maybe they'll grow and fill in the way we want. So a little bit of manhandling, not real tough on it. Oh, there's a little piece of dead stuff. Dead center. You probably can't see that. And that looks quite dead here on the front. So let me reach through the front here. There we go. Yep, it went snap when I snipped it. And that looks like something else growing. It's not attached. So it's not real thick in the center, so I'm not inclined to go after it. It will produce a lot of shade. Oh, I do have one broken stem right here in front of me. So I'm going to clip that back to, there is a bud right next to it, so there. And then that will grow. So really, that is about all I'm going to do to this Oakleaf Hydrangea. Maybe clean up an old cut or two. You can always find a few of those. And maybe, looking at it from this side, if we come over here to your left, this branch comes out and wraps back around. And so I might keep this one for now, but I'm inclined to take this one off because it comes out at a 90-degree angle. That looks like maybe it got damaged at some point and its response was to grow in that direction. But really, looking down in the center of it, it's not particularly crowded. It does want to go wide. I'm not going to shorten these because that's its natural form. I may untangle a few of them. And then keep in mind, you know how big the flowers get on these things. So when you get the weight of that flower, for instance, these, which right now look like they might rub, when they've got flowers hanging on them, that's likely to go and be weighted down by the flower. So I'm okay with that. That's a smaller stem. The weight of the flowers will pull it down. This is a thicker stem. It can hold a little bit more weight. So really, we're really just focusing on the 4 Ds: dead, diseased, damaged, dysfunctional, looking for those crossing, rubbing branches. And it is a relatively low maintenance plant. One last thing I would point out, and it is in the handout, is a lot of people, if we can zoom in here, see this peeling bark and are like, what is wrong with my hydrangea? This is a feature. This is not a disease, it's not a problem. It just naturally peels, and it happens most on the older stems. So that helps you to kind of age it. And if you don't like it, you can gently pull it off, as long as there's not a ton of resistance. If it comes off easily, then it was about to slough it off anyway. So I would not normally bother to do that, but since we've got some good examples here, I thought I would show you. So that's our Oakleaf Hydrangea. A nice native plant that gets rather big. Let it grow into its natural shape. Minimal maintenance. This doesn't take very long. And really the biggest thing you'd be doing is, if you didn't deadhead it in the fall, you'd be deadheading it now. We hope you learned something today, and we thank you for joining us.